time. But there are other things that makes scrubbing time the very best time of the whole day.
Scrubbing time the best time of day. You know what that is? I got a very special phone. I remember Ernie. Rubber ducky, you're the one. We make bath time lots of fun. We need bath time on Earth. Let's be fun of you. Y'all know this song, sing along. Rubber ducky, of joy. When you clean the earth, it'll make noise. Cause bubbles clean the earth of psychopaths. I love this song. Every day when I make my way to the tubby, I find these little psychopaths hiding the gravity technology. Yeah, I'm making this up. Y'all know I didn't plan this. German rubber ducky, I'm fond of you. I think they changed the song from when we were kids. Hey, Rubber Ducky, would you like me to scrub your America? Oh, you like that, do you? Like me to scrub your Pentagon too? Get your Space Force? Share the technology with people? Scrub behind your Democrats and your Republicans? Get all that filth? Bubbles clean, y'all. Y'all, Bubbles clean. I know some of y'all ain't into Rubber Ducky. Like, why is he in the grown man with the bathtub? Why he in the bathtub with Ernie? I'm gonna tell you why. Shut up. You're stupid. We grew up in bathtubs together. This stuff ain't new. This ain't what you know what surprises me when we need to talk about cleaning up Earth, freeing the free energy technology, which I want to talk about a little bit this morning. Using the scrubbing bubbles. It's not the antibacterials that clean any damn thing. It's actually the bubbles. It's the bubbles. I'll tell you why in a minute. But before we go to that, got to talk about why a grown man in the tub with Ernie. Well, number one, Ernie isn't real. I know, I hate to tell you this, but Ernie is actually not real. Ernie is fake. Ernie is actually a Muppet on television, okay? That's number one. Two, I'm making a point here about gravity and junk and orbits and Nassim, Haramein, and you're not really here, your wave energy, which we're gonna get a little weird today, but we gotta talk about gravity and you being in hell. And two, well, that's probably five, we all took baths together, so shut up. Anybody who grew up in a family with a whole bunch of people, everybody took baths together. That's just how, and it was fun. All right, fun. We weren't the little psychopaths y'all are. All right. And besides the fact, I have no idea why anybody thinks this pedo junk is new. It is not new. It is not new. It's not new. Did not start under Trump. Didn't start on Obama. Didn't start under Clinton. Didn't start under May, Merkel, Tony Blair. This has been here on the planet since the very beginning. All right, we either choose we want to keep it or let it go. No, Donald Trump is not fighting. That man is not that stupid. He might be crazy, but he is not taking on the global elite that enjoy that type of stuff. All right, so I'm in the tub with Ernie because I want to talk about scrubbing bubbles and when we're going to scrub Earth. That's what I want to talk about. When we're going to, well, you don't have to scrub Earth. All you need are the bubbles because the bubbles do the cleaning. It's not the antibacterial. When you use antibacterial, you actually make it more of a mess than you clean it. All right, in that example, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, Freedom Friday. I got a post. I didn't even make this post yet. What the hell am I saying on this one? Suppose those living. Oh yeah, I like this one. Suppose those living healthy had access to the best health care, and the rest had access to the best mental health care. Would care exist? Would care continue to exist if those people who knew how to live healthy, who respected their body, they realized their body was a gift and a blessing, that it was a miracle. Miracles don't need cures from megalomaniac, psychopathic billionaires. That's number one. They respected their body. What if the people who respected their body got the best health care? Well, number one, they wouldn't need the best health care because they respect the temple. It's a miracle. It knows how to heal itself. And two, everybody else that doesn't respect the temple, they get access to the best mental health care. Well, they get the best mental health, they learn how to take care of their damn self, and then guess what? Eventually they won't need health care neither. Poof! Nobody needs care. Nobody's weak. Nobody needs psychopathic billionaires and corporations and industries that's been poisoning you to come save you. Imagine that. See how simple that is? All you gotta do is get the bubbles out. Yeah, I'm still dealing with that. I get with Gerard. You need to get some bubbles, take care of them fruit gnats. I know. They go away in time. That's sustainable. They're sustainable. You know, we're gonna talk about my fruit gnats for a second. We're gonna talk about that because people give me a hard time, and I'm sick of y'all giving me a hard. Fruit gnats supposed to be here. Okay? They supposed to be here. These bananas, they ain't supposed to be here. They don't grow in Pennsylvania. Okay? These bananas come from the tropics. The house ain't supposed to be here. Job ain't supposed to be here. I ain't even supposed to be here. Okay? They're sustainable. I'm not. Then that's where they supposed to be. But I'm gonna kill them anyway. They'll go away in time. I've created an unnatural environment called a building house. Well, I didn't create it. Somebody built it a long time ago. But the point is it's unnatural. So they gonna die anyway, because them bananas is done. That's only a peel down there that they still getting into. All right. I don't know why this is so funny to me. We're really YouTube that. All right. Almost ready to go. Good morning. How y'all doing this Friday? How y'all doing? How your mama doing? Talk about the Invention Security Act. We need to talk about free energy still, because it still was wrong with Earth. We need to scrub Earth full of the gravity creatures, the ones that are hiding. We resolve gravity. So I gotta show you something. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's keep it.
And you can tell the future because all you gotta do is look at science fiction. Science fiction is the imagination of consciousness creating its future.
Science fiction is the imagination of consciousness creating its future, because you are a manifestation engine. You are on a circuit board, but it's an energy circuit board called a universe. You are a wave creature, energy manifesting creature thing on a circuit board. You're connected to everything. Separation is illusion. That's why we're going to start out on Brother Nassim, Haramein. That's his name. Where we got? Right here. I need to click this, then we're going to jump right in this one. Jump right in. Hope your feet is ready to get wet. I think we're in hell. Got that the right song? That's the wrong one. Isn't that the wrong one? That's the wrong one. That's the end. No, that's the end. That's the end, Gerard. Press the right one. There you go. Right there. Brother Nassim Fairfield.
Spent an hour with Nassim this morning, and this man blew my mind. The conversation went in every direction, from human consciousness to time travel to basically, can we travel at the speed of light, to wormholes, to Nikola Tesla. And it's going to be a very interesting conversation, Nassim, because you're kind of brilliant.
Oh, thank you. I think the same of you. I think the same of everybody, actually. I think it's an amazing thing to be alive, and you know, the miracle that happens in a person every second of the day is just brilliant.
So the first question I'd like to open with, Nassim, and we also have questions from the tribe and from people watching on Facebook Live. So if you're watching on Facebook Live, thank you for joining us. Please give a round of applause to our special guest on Facebook. First question, Nassim, and I guess it's more really of a subject matter I'd like you to talk about. You focus a lot on connection, on how when you study the universe, you find that everyone, every atom, every soul, every human being, every plant, we're all connected. Let's start by talking about connection.
Right. Well, you know, it came from a more philosophical and intuitive sense when I was younger, that I had in school these thoughts, because I didn't pay attention much to what was going on up front. I commonly was thinking about all kinds of other things, and I start to feel like the space between things may not be empty. You know, we only experience a very small part of what's going on in the space. There's all kinds of electromagnetic fields, there's all kinds of stuff that's happening in the space that we don't experience directly. And I started to think maybe the space between things is not empty, but it's full and it connects all things. But eventually, as I studied physics and I understood some of the basis of quantum field theory, I realized that actually we had found that the space is not empty at all, but full of energy. And eventually I wrote equations, I wrote physics on the space. I described the space. And when I wrote these physics, it outputted very fundamental constants in physics, like the mass of particles and their radius and the structure of galaxies and the structure of the universe and all these things. And as I wrote these mathematics, something remarkable happened. Something I instinctively had come up with when I was young, but that just came out in the mathematics just beautifully. And that is that all the information of every other particles in the universe, every atom in the universe, seems to be present holographically in each atom, which connects them all through this wormhole network in the structure of space, like an information highway that is transferring information at very, very high baud rate, and that permits systems to self-organize. So it's really at a deep level that I see the connection between all things, not in only a philosophical way, but actually writing physics on it actually works.
And this connection is the basis for a lot of your research. And the research you're doing right now is astonishing.
I want to pause there for a second, because the amazing thing about this brother, as well as many others, is they always talk about from a child, from being a kid, a child, they had certain epiphanies. Things didn't fit in. Things didn't make sense. From Tesla to my guru, Saj Guru, to Gandhi, to a few others, Einstein, right? They talked about how they were tapped into things as kids. Edgar Casey, because when we come here, we're still in contact with whatever the one thing is, right? This circuit board, this energetic circuit board that we exist in. And some carry it through, some perhaps it gets quelled back. But this is an evolution, which if you've been following my post this morning, you'll see where I'm going with it. But he says a couple things that I think we really need to think about. I know we need to think about, but we need to apply it to modern times and what's happening.
Because if Nassim's research is able to prove some of the things he's talking about, it has huge implications for humanity. For example, warp drives. For example, the ability to control gravity, to, within the next 75 years, be able to go on a family vacation to Jupiter and back in record time by leveraging the control of gravity and wormholes. So let's talk about that. What are you researching right now?
And before he talks about that, his last interruption, I'm gonna let him talk for a minute. Y'all know me. Gravity is what enslaves us. Right? The only reason that we are slaves is because we live in a time where we have not mastered gravity. Gravity is needed for all the interrelational connections we have. But when gravity is solved, the human race is free. The human beings are free. So gravity is probably the most important piece in the conversation about human freedom. I'm gonna let him talk a little bit now.
Well, actually, to go to Jupiter, you won't need a wormhole with a gravitational drive. But if you want to go to Alpha Centauri, you'll need one. Yes, I'm working on these things because not only that, you know, when you calculate the amount of energy, obviously, if everything is connected through this wormhole structure, the micro wormhole at the quantum level, which I'll present this tomorrow, the energy level in a centimeter cube of space is enormous. And if we extracted just a billionth of a percent of the energy that's in a centimeter cube of space in the structure of space-time, we could run the world for millions of years.
So you're saying that in the centimeter cube of space, right, there's an energy, and I believe you refer to it, or people commonly call it zero-point energy.
Yes,
and
that was Einstein.
If we can learn to extract that,
right,
we can run humanity for millions of years. That's unlimited energy.
Exactly, and it's actually, according to what I found, it's actually the energy that runs reality, that runs the world. And eventually I wrote papers that advanced these mathematics into actually that's the energy that makes you a conscious human being. It actually organizes system to eventually arrive to a system that's complex enough to become self-aware.
That's interesting. So are you saying that 0 point energy has a tangible relationship to consciousness?
Yes, absolutely. According to what I found, and I want to precisely mean what I found. What I mean by what I found is that when I wrote these mathematics and I extracted these masses and these radiuses, I was able to make predictions, very important prediction about the nuclei of atom that was confirmed in accelerators in Switzerland. And my solution is the most precise solution on Earth today from theoretical tenet. The standard model is off by 4%, which is like, you know, a universe away in quantum theory. So what I'm saying to you today is not just based on nice mathematics that may be too complex for you to understand or philosophy. It's actually now confirmed in experimental studies.
That's incredible. Now, some scientists have said you deserve a Nobel Prize. Some scientists have said this is hogwash.
Yes.
How do you deal with that sort of huge polarization
yes.
in
Well, you know, I cry and I laugh. I think it's always difficult to make a change. You know, we can see that. I don't know about you, but in my life, you know, every large changes are difficult.
But what I appreciate about you is that every great innovator was called a quack at some point, including Tesla, right?
Yes.
But what I appreciate about
and
you
Einstein.
is that, yes, and Einstein.
Yeah.
What I appreciate about you is that you're not just looking at matter and energy, but you're looking at matter, energy, and consciousness and how they all interrelate.
Right, and you know, it's like, and as you find these pieces, as you find these little morsels of information across the physics, you end up with stuff in chemistry, and you end up with stuff with biology, and you end up with, you know, and it just built, because if you have the correct foundation, you see, humans make these divisions in science. You know, we call this chemistry, science. And we call this physics, and we call this, you know, biology and all this.
I know y'all know this is why I love this talk. I heard it this morning. I was like, oh my gosh. When you get confirmation of everything that you've been saying, it'll blow your mind. I'm going to pause for a second. Deanna said we need to go back and talk about something else. You're going to tell us where the first conversation we need to go back to. Was Bigfoot, rubber ducky, Ernie, or energy? Energy's everywhere. Energy's everywhere. It's not science if it's half-baked in the discipline that you went to school for. Just because you went to school, got a degree in something called chemistry, doesn't mean chemistry rules the world, right? Just because you went to school, got a degree in biology, doesn't mean biology rules the world, or biology's true. Just because you went to school, got a degree in allopathic Rockefeller medicine, doesn't mean that that's true neither. That's not science. That's science. Besides, science doesn't even exist. That's why I love this talk. He's hitting on so many powerful things, which, hang on, let me remove grandmama real quick. But technically this is grandpa, but we got her right here. She's in her spacesuit. This is what she needs to look like if she's going to be safe in the public on a planet where people still making bioweapons. From where we got governments making bioweapons. Okay, what did I miss? What are we supposed to go back and talk about? Because it's a discussion. I want to be more of a discussion. I'm not just here ranting to people. Energy is everywhere. It's in every piece, form, space. You're never free of energy. You're on a energetic circuit board that's multi-dimensional, not even 3D. You're connected to everything, and everything pulls energy from everything. Everything is tapped into everything. You are not a you. You don't have a race, a group. You're not a gender. You're not any of that ignorance. You are on a energetic circuit board. You can tap into energy anywhere if you know how. Everybody who figures out how becomes a terrorist, right? They throw them in prison. They're not allowed to tell you about free energy simply for the fact that energy is gravity is what enslaves you. All right, what I miss? I'm hilarious. My letter, what I do, I'm not hilarious. Don't you? I'm not. This existence is hilarious. That's what it is. I just, that's why I can't take nothing seriously, my letter, because I just the more you look into history and all the sciences and know that there is no science, and all the monkeys and know that there really ain't no different types and versions of monkeys, you just enjoy this world. You just sit back and say, you know what? I think I'm a chill. The more the calmer you get. The calmer you get, the more you actually take in more data, the calmer you get. Like good point. Somebody in my family asked me a question while we wait on Deanna. She's supposed to tell us what we're supposed to go back to talking to. How do you use Facebook? What do you do when people send you friend requests? And I said, well, this is what you do. When somebody sends you friend requests, the first thing you have to ask yourself, why are you on Facebook? That's the first question. Are you on Facebook to confirm your biases? Or are you on Facebook to meet people from all over the world? Facebook gives you the opportunity to tap into 5,000 different data sources, 5,000 different sensors. Do you want to expand your universe like science? Do you want to just tap into chemistry? He actually has a degree in chemistry. Or do you want to tap into everybody? He also has a degree in Blick. Some of y'all got degrees in Watt, and some of y'all got degrees in America. He has a degree in chemistry. And I said, so why are you on Facebook? Right? If you want to expand your mind, then you want to accept a friend invite from everybody, right? So what you do is you just go to their profile and, but if you want to confirm your bias, then no, you just pick people who grew up where you grew, know what you know, where you've been, and heading where you are in life. That's how you stay ignorant. But first you go to their profile, and I told him, I said, first you got to see if you got a mutual friend in me. I said, if we're mutual friends, I said, it's probably my white nationalist friends or my Black Panther friends trying to educate you on some stuff. I'd like to just do that to them a little bit. But why am I saying that? I'm saying that because diversity, right? The more what my letter said, right? The more we uncover, the more we learn about every different aspect of this existence that we're in, the less we're in conflict with any of them. My letter, I laugh about it because it's laughable because I don't know nothing. First of all, let me let everybody know I don't know a damn thing. I know enough to know that I don't know a damn thing, which means I can't be in conflict with anything. I can't be in conflict with any nation, any group, any race, religion, any of that nonsense, because we're all fools and we're being fooled. All right. So did we get what we're supposed to be going back to? There you go. Yes, energies everywhere, trapped, bound by skin suits. Right. Ooh. Well, so it's not just trapped and bound by skin suits. And this is where I was going with all my posts I was spamming y'all with this morning. Well, all right, we'll just start talking and we'll play and try to let y'all drive it. So he talks about how energy is everywhere. We pretty much can guarantee that he is correct, right? We have many physicists who agree with that. They've proven that they can pull energy out of the air. We have the patents that have been classified to keep from the people. You've got that how many, we'll go over and see if I can find it. Stephen Greer, I was looking at it this morning. I didn't even read this yet. It's from the Federation of American Scientists, right? These are the people who created free energy devices, and they're trying to get Congress to what's not these people, but this is what this is about. They're trying to get Congress to release free energy. And I don't think there's more important conversation on the planet, right? Because if you want to stop destroying the planet as passionate as some people are with this trying to reduce climate change, you need to look at the Invention Security Act, right? It's still going strong, right? There's still over 5,000 patents now that are related to energy propulsion and any creation, while they pretend that somehow the planet's accidentally being destroyed. We are destroying the planet. We are destroying the planet because they are hiding the technology that we need to not destroy all the ecosystems on the planet. Yes, absolutely love him. So he gets into gravity. He starts talking about gravity, and I'm trying to share with y'all this epiphany that I'm having. And let's let him go a little bit more.
But the universe doesn't do that. Just like the universe doesn't make lines on the planet and say this is this country and this is this country, right? And so basically the universe must be unified, since it produces all this amazing biostructure that we call our reality, from the physics all the way to consciousness. And so when you start to find something, and that's my belief, when you start to find something that's very deep, fundamental at the truth of reality, then all this starts to unravel, and that's what I think is happening now.
So the question is, what then is consciousness? We're using that word a lot.
Yes.
And you said that consciousness is all around us. It's related to the 0-point field.
Correct.
What is consciousness to you?
Right, it's an important question, because it's becoming more and more, you know, that when I started to give talks in physics conferences in the 90s, in the early 90s, mid-90s, if you said the C word, it was like automatic dismissal. You were asked to leave, right? That was like, you could say the F word, but you could not say the C word. And so it was very difficult at the time, you can imagine, but now it's completely flipped around. Like the cool thing for physicists, especially after they retired, is to work on what is the source of consciousness and how did consciousness occur. And you know, and often people talk about, you know, this new idea that consciousness may be at the base of reality. And it's in many cases not very helpful, because the word consciousness is used as if you said God is the base of reality. You still haven't told me anything about what that is, right? If you say consciousness, okay, what do you mean by that? Well, if you look at definitions of consciousness, it's not very useful neither. It says it's something that has to do with self-awareness, right? Becoming self-aware. What's important in that self-awareness understanding is that there's something that resembles a feedback, right? You knowing you are you. And as I wrote the physics that describe these fundamental laws, these fundamental principles of physics, I realized that the information, and it was already in the philosophy that I had developed, but it showed up in the equation, that the information is circulating in feed-forward feedback structures. And so that you can think of this Planck field, which is an electromagnetic field, this 0-point energy field, as bits of information. And this is exactly how I wrote the equation. That's why it's a holographic equation. And you can think of the bits being exchanged between the field and the surface and the interior of particles. And as you write the equations for this, it starts to make it starts to look a lot like a feedback structure of information through the universal network.
So in other words, the universe is feeding information to itself.
Exactly, and that's how it grows, and that's how it becomes more and more complex and highly organized.
So the universe is becoming more conscious as time goes on.
Exactly, it's getting wiser.
The universe is getting wiser and wiser.
Yes.
Right? But the other
Hopefully.
But the other thing is, you've also said that time doesn't exist. In the realm of consciousness, time is an illusion.
Yes.
And you've suggested that consciousness is going back and rewriting itself.
That's right. So basically, the information, what we call time, is a linear set of information along a specific vector of space. So let me say this in a more simple way. No memory, no time. If you can't remember what happened just before, you don't know that there's a linear function of time. You don't have evolution. So I modified Einstein, and I'm sure he's okay with it, but I changed the word he coined, space-time, to space memory. Because it's more fundamental. Memory is required for time to exist, for evolutionary systems to exist. So I start to realize that maybe in this Planck field of information, we're leaving information as we're moving through space. And we're basically like we put information on a hard drive in the magnetic field medium of a hard drive, we're leaving information on the Planck oscillating field of space-time, on the electromagnetic field of space-time. And that's what we call our memory. That memory is not in the brain. I actually wrote a paper on this. It was my first paper in biophysics a few years ago, and it just got cited by a really good team of as a biophysicist in the Netherlands, and it got a lot of press. But basically it's saying that consciousness is not in your brain, but your brain and your whole body is like a bio-oscillator antenna tapped into that field of information. So basically information is on the structure of space, and in each coordinates, think of each coordinates as 1 Planck second, which is really short, right? It's like 10 to the minus 44 seconds, right?
And can you give us perspective of what that looks like? In our prior conversation, you spoke about how the Earth is going around the sun,
right?
But the universe is expanding, so the sun is moving. So
yes.
Technically, we are moving through space like this,
making a spiral,
right?
Yeah, and like after a year, we're like billions of kilometers away from where we were a year prior, and we've left information on the structure of space, each one of us, along that path, and that's what we call our past. That is our memory imprint on the structure of space, which we're entangled with because everything is connected, and all the protons in your body are connected to that information.
Now here's another question. Where does my consciousness end and your consciousness begin?
Oh, that's a good question.
If consciousness is also between us,
right,
isn't it all connected in some way?
It is, but each coordinates in space-time is observing the universe from a different perspective. If I put an object between you and me right now, and I don't know, we have like 400 people in the room. If not one of us is seeing this object from the same perspective, every one of us, because we are in different coordinates in space-time, are seeing a different part of this object. We're all gathering different set of information. So although we're all part of the same consciousness flow of information, we are all in our feedback structure feeding a different set of information, and all the combined sets of all the coordinates in space-time produce the reality we see. Do you guys follow this? It's a little bit of a feedback thing.
How many of you here are wishing you paid more attention in science class?
You wouldn't have got that at school.
But if the universe, so if the universe is self-aware, is conscious,
yeah,
and we are some of the most sophisticated creations in the universe,
and we all are individualization, right? Because we're all gathering different sets, right. So we all look a little different because the universe is organizing in the feedback, is organizing your body a little different than me because you're feeding the universe a little different set of information than I am.
So we are just a highly organized bit of the universe.
That's
where
right.
Universal consciousness is expressing itself.
That's right. You're like the structure of space-time extending itself and feeding information back to the whole.
Wow.
Yeah.
Almost like what we were talking about a year ago, that we're all sensors. Right? We're all on this energetic circuit board and we're providing feedback. You're not actually here, you're a signal. Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief, and that you're driving a television set. Right? You are a manifesting television set on an energetic circuit board where everything is connected. But you don't ever die. You don't ever die. That leads into, which this is a decently long talk, which is why I don't play the whole thing, which is why I spoke about it. Gravity. He said something here, which kind of, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Christine asked a question. I pinned it. I'm going to answer that. I'm trying to do a little better with this. Does this man know how to do free energy? Christine, that you would never know. You would never know. Because if you develop free energy and you apply for the patent and it touches on any of the illegal, I gotta take you back here. It touches on any of the things that were banned, then it doesn't matter if he creates it, you'll never hear from it. Because the minute he does it, he'll either go to prison, he'll get that knock on the door. And this, I mean, you could go back probably 15, 20 years ago. You'd have a chance to talk to people about it. Nowadays, you won't. Everything is watched, everything's recorded, everything is trapped. They know everything that you're up to. They know how many polka dot drawers you got in the drawer. So of course they know any scientist or engineer that are getting close to utilizing technology that they use for Space Force. Right? So the minute you get close, you'll get the knock on the door. And they'll tell you that you are violating national security interests, which means that this is classified and you're a terrorist. You continue along this course, we'll put you in the CMU. So whether he does or doesn't matter. Well, how come the universities don't? That's what people ask. Well, because if they get close to it, they get the knock on the door. Right? They literally banned energy propulsion from anything other than fossil fuels. Basically, I mean, you've got wind and you've got wave energy. You got all these other hydraulic through water. You got all these other things that you can generate power from. But even with that, I believe the Energy Act here. I'm pretty sure your country has the same thing. It says you can't make a device that's more than 20% efficient of what's currently out there. So even the forms of free energy that we pull, because solar energy is free energy, so is wind and so is water, waves. You'll never, anyone pulling energy out of the air, out of the ethos, Wilhelm Reich, Nikola, Tesla, and these guys, you're not going to do it. They'll put you in prison, they'll kill you, they'll take your research. It's been banned. And this is why I'm saying the climate change people are a little bit clueless, because the people they're serving are the people who banned free energy. They're the ones who banned it. All energy is free, and they're the ones who banned the significant versions. There you go. Here's the Invention, Secrecy still going strong. That's an article from 2010. There were 5,000 patents that were under security orders at the end of the fiscal year 2010. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office told Secrecy News last week. It's a 1% rise over the year before, and it's the highest total in more than a decade. So more people are creating more inventions that are trampling on that realm of free energy and Space Force, and they're still banning the patents as they come in. While they have you in the street fighting for climate change, while tankers are running ashore and they're spreading oil all throughout the lakes and the river systems, and the planet is burning up, for the people who feel that we can slow down climate change. I don't happen to be one of those people, but that's what it is. So under the Invention Security Act of 1951, patent application on new inventions can be subject to a secrecy order restricting their publication, and government agencies believe that disclosure would be detrimental to national security. And the problem is right now, everything is national security. Everything they feel is national security. So that's why, Christine, that if he knew or you knew or anyone knows that they posted a YouTube video, it won't stay up. So this is why when people say, well, how come, there's no YouTube videos, there's no proof. Prove it. There's no evidence. Right. It's like proving that a member of Al-Qaeda is in your neighborhood. You go ahead and search for that. You go ahead and start going out to websites and trying to find your local Al-Qaeda branch. and see how long that works for you. All right.
Yeah. That's a very interesting way of looking at it.
Yes.
Now,
Einstein mentioned it. I mean, he approached it in some of his statements.
What specifically did he say?
I'm going to paraphrase the statement. I think I have it in my presentation tomorrow, but something along the lines that objects are not in space, but they're an extension of space itself.
Wow. Okay, so we got a couple of questions, and I wanted to pick some questions. This particular question is from a 14-year-old girl who's in the room, Tamara. Tamara, you want to stand and just wave to the audience?
Hi. Thanks for being here.
So Tamara's question. Tamara, did you pay attention to science in school? Okay, so Tamara's from Belarus.
Good girl.
And her question is this. If there's consciousness all around us,
Don't believe everything they tell you, though.
is there a way we can tap into this consciousness? And is that what intuition is?
Oh, that's a good question. So that's what I was saying earlier, is like, you're making a distinction between you and consciousness, and there's none. You are tapping your consciousness, what you call your self-awareness, your consciousness is the tap. You're tapped already. But you can increase the amount of information flow. You can increase your influence on the structure of space. I call it, vacuum engineering. You can create a larger tap to have a larger influence on the structure of space if you become aware that you have that ability, that you can connect with the space. So how would you do that? Well, the equation says that every proton in the nuclei of every one of your atoms, and you're made out of 100 trillion cells. Each cell is made of 100 trillion atoms. So there's a lot of those little guys, okay? It's very advanced, it's very complex, it's remarkable. It's remarkable. Like, there's a miracle happening every billionth of a second in your body. There's a billion chemical change occurring every second. I mean, a million cell division every second. It's remarkable.
Miracle.
So all this is happening, right? And the equation says that each proton is connected to all other protons in the universe, that all the information in the universe is present in each one of them. So if you actually want to know about the universe, where do you go? Inside yourself, right? So we are constantly putting our attention outside ourselves because that's what we learn to do. But there's other techniques to help you bring your consciousness inside yourself, right? And if you do that, you can get more and more conscious of the deeper layers of your existence, because you think of yourself as one thing, but you're made of all these billion trillions of things. And you become aware of them, you go deeper and deeper in them.
Billions and billions and trillions and things we can't even describe. Your body is a miracle. You are a miracle. Your body is a blessing. You are a blessing. You don't need megalomaniacal Lex Luthors to cure you. There is nothing wrong with you than what is in your head. Mental illness. All right. The only thing wrong with you is you believe the TV. You believe this existence. You believe these monkey machines that we're running or tramping around Earth on. And all we need to do is scrub the Earth with some scrubbing bubbles of our ignorance. All right. Energy is free. It is everywhere. But it's free in the context that it comes here from somewhere. But the point is, we don't have to pay for it. And thus Beaufont's comment, entropy. So Pat posted a comment, national security being a euphemism for financial security for the bankers class. That's it. That's the whole point. Like right there, in terms of, if you are a patriot to a flag, you're a patriot to banks. That's what you're patriotising. That's who you're helping and supporting. Right? There are layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of this scam. And unfortunately, we fall for it. Every single generation. We fall for it. I've got to show you something else here. So outside of invention security, talk about gravity. Like, why are we here? Like, what is the existence? What is all of that? And I appreciate deep thinkers who think about reality, right? I don't care about political fake reality, whatever the word I'm gonna make up in a minute for political sciences. I don't really care about the political sphere. I care about what's real. And what's real is we're trapped on a planet that has gravity. And you think about it, like, why does gravity even exist? Well, in order to create a creation that creates creations, you need to have some sort of a thing that creates relationships between the oneness. So everything's all connected. You got to divide things up. and make them have some sort of relationship, and that tends to be gravity, right? Planets are gravity wells. That's why you got this space junk right here behind us orbiting the planet, right? The junk can't get away. The junk gets trapped because every single planetary body is some sort of a gravity well that nobody can explain. Some say it's pulling, some say it's pushing, right? And they're trapped. So here's the example that he used later on in the talk. He talked about, well, when you move your hand from here to here, how fast does it move? He said, well, you're moving about 4 or 5 miles per hour. And no, it's not. His point was that when you move your hand from here to here, you're on a planet that's spinning around at thousands of miles an hour. So you actually move from your hand from here to here, it requires another computation because you're on a planet that's spinning. But not only that, you're on a planet that's spinning around a sun that's spinning within a galaxy, right? So even that's going at a certain miles per hour. And so what he kind of described is that it's all relative, right? So in terms of gravity, what is gravity? Gravity creates the relationships between the people, the rocks, the animals, the planets, the planetary bodies, the solar systems, the galaxy, the universes, and we just clueless about, dimensions, right? What is a black hole and a white hole? So gravity had to be created to create these relationships between things that are all the same thing. They're all part of the same consciousness. And that led down into the point, so we're evolving on these planets, these Edens, and we have gravity to create relationships so we can evolve into something perhaps better. To seek God, seek science, seek truth, you got to seek it from within because it's within you. But you're also collecting data from the outside. And so in walks, the first epiphany or thought that I'm having in terms of gravity is that somebody asked the question, what is reincarnation? I forgot who asked it, if I believe in reincarnation. I once again, belief is such a strong word. I'll tell you what I think. I think that because all the ancient cultures and all the ancient religions and now science, quantum physics, which really threw out a lot of the other sciences, shows that energy doesn't go anywhere. You don't actually die. Your energy can't be removed, changed, or anything, right? You are energy. I can think about 2 dimensions, right? Just for the sake of this question. So you're energy, and that's one dimensional plane, and you're biological here, and that's another dimensional plane. Well, your body doesn't go anywhere, right? Your body, it breaks down, becomes something else, and comes back in a plant, a snail, maybe another monkey again. And where does the energy go? Well, the body's here, and the matter stays here, right? It's really weak, but it's matter in this realm. It can't get off the planet for the same reason you got junk that is still orbiting this gravity well. So the matter doesn't go anywhere. So what happens to the energy? Well, when you look at the computation between gravity, energy is an aspect of that. So if this is a gravity well for all energy and the matter can escape, can the energy escape? I think no. I think for the same reason that you create gravity, if something created, I think it did, that you're trapping the energy and the biological, and it's all trapped in this gravity well, which is multi-dimensional. So no, you don't go anywhere. You're just constantly reincarnated and you're kept on this planet. And I think we're kept here by dark creatures. I think we're kept here by, if people want to call them archons or fallen angels or whatever you want to call it, but we're being kept here. We're being kept slaves to gravity, which, the Invention Security Act. That's why you have this. You have the Invention Security Act because if you discover gravity, you're going to free yourself physically and spiritually, perhaps, or energetically wise, because you're no longer going to be trapped in this gravity well, which means you can go out. And that tells me that I'm in hell. That's where I got that from. Right? We're trapped in the yugas, right? The Kali yugas. All the ancient cultures talked about this. We just keep coming back and coming back and coming back, repeating the same cycle over and over and over until you master gravity. And if you master gravity in time, you get away. If you don't master gravity in time, you repeat the cycle. You are an evolved creature, but you go back to de-evolve. And you start the cycle again. And this planet keeps washing. It's a blessing And this is a Garden of Eden if you're a wild creature and you're evolving towards sentience. But once you discover sentience and consciousness, this is a hell. This is a trap. You want to get out of it. And this is why you have some of your friends and family, they love it here. Like, oh, I'm doing well. I got a Benz, got this, got that, blah, 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 blah. And other people like, no, this is death. This is hell. It doesn't get any worse than this. Like for me, it doesn't. It doesn't get any worse than this. No, it's not depressing, Matthew. I mean, I get that. It is to a degree, but it's not in the knowing. Right, Matthew, I don't know how old you are, but there was a prophet when I was a kid. His name was Duke, and he said, knowing is half the battle. Right? And so if knowing is half the battle, then we're already halfway there, right? The glass is half full. We now see the problem. The problem is somebody literally is hiding free energy from its people, from the whole planet, right? And I don't think it's an American thing. It's an everybody thing, because the Russians do it, the Chinese, like they're all together on that level of keeping their societies enslaved to gravity. And on some level, the ruler class is being played too. That's kind of how I see this, right? Once you understand how to manipulate gravity, what can't you do? Where can't you go? Like I asked the question, I said, so in terms of like destroying the ecosystem, what happens when they release free energy? Well, do you need roads anymore? No. Why? Because all of our craft become anti-gravity craft. They become the craft that you see in the F-18 gun camera that they're trying to tell you is aliens. And I don't think it's aliens personally, but that's just me. I could be wrong. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's possible, and we know that they have higher forms of energy propulsion that they're criminally hiding from the population. You don't need roads anymore. So you don't need roads anymore. That means deers aren't getting hit by cars. And the mice and the rats and the snails and the microbiology and the fungi all can reclaim that territory. Do you need power lines? No, because now energy is free. So you're beaming energy from some sort of technology from satellites, perhaps. So you don't even need that. You don't need power lines. So all of that crap goes away. And that's crap. It's junk. It's no different than that space junk. All of our junk starts to break down. The planet starts returning back to a Garden of Eden for all the creatures that are on it. Houses. We really don't even need buildings and houses, because at that point they can levitate. So you're levitating over an ocean somewhere, a beautiful beach scenery, something. Everybody has scenery now. Now everybody has an oceanfront beach or an oceanfront view, but they're not destroying the planet with their houses. You don't need to destroy the ecosystem to put down clay to put up a foundation. Now, do you see where I'm going with this? So it's not just freeing the human race. Right? Once you release how to utilize higher productions of energy to the population, it's not perfect. I'm sure it has its problems. Entropy, right? I'm sure it has its challenges coming from somewhere, but it's the next step that we should have took 100 years ago that we're being denied from taking because they want to keep a slave planet. And they don't want anybody to get out of hell. Right? Like the description of hell is, right, that you can't escape it, that you keep dying, that you die and you keep coming back, you die, you come back. What was that? What's the name of that Greek story? Is the Iliad and the Odyssey? I forgot. But, from purgatory to hell, and the biblical description of it is that you can't escape it. You can die all you want. You're not getting out of here. You can commit suicide. You can fall off a cliff. You can die in war. You can do whatever you want. But as long as gravity is in effect and we die here, our energy is trapped here. We are trapped in hell by description. So releasing that free energy, demanding it to be released, because they're not going to do it on their own. Power concedes nothing without demand. Demanding that occur, no longer engaging in the political system, no longer engaging in the economic systems, the things that they utilize to keep us as wild creatures, right? Because that's what economics is. You deny what will free the people, so they keep it in competition with each other for this thing called money, right? You keep a slave plantation and keep everybody fighting each other. So now the blacks hate the whites, and the whites hate the blacks, and the Christians hate the Muslims, and the Americans hate the Chinese, and you keep everybody fighting. And at those levels, the ruler level, they all agree on that. You can't have this because you serve us. All right. But anyway, that was a little bit of an epiphany and tying some things together. But yeah, I think reincarnation is a thing, and if we can't escape it, we keep repeating this Kali Yuga. We keep going back through it. But I'll post a link for this here. I didn't actually read all of this, so you know what? Let me read the rest of it. Like, there's nothing more important than this. This is why I like the alien discussion. This is why I like the UFO discussion. Everything is being released in a controlled fashion, and why would anybody trust those who've been hiding this for the longest time to release any of this? Let me make it bigger so you can actually read it. This is the wrong screen. And I'll look at some comments. We'll go from there. Secrecy news. What kind of secrets should you have? What secrets does a sentient species have? I think there are answers for everything. I literally think there are answers for everything. All right, let me finish reading that. The current list of technologies and areas that is used to screen patent applications for possible restriction under the Invention Security Act is not publicly available and has been denied under the Freedom of Information Act. An appeal is pending. So there you go. So we asked to know what technology are being banned. They literally banned that. Freedom of Information Act they said no to it. You don't get to know. But a previous listed date, 1971, obtained by researcher Michael Ravinsky, is available here. We're going to click on that. Hang on, where's my big head at? Make this a little stronger, a little smaller. You can, like everything else, I post the link for all of this because it doesn't really matter what I think. You go do your own research on it. Most of the listed technology areas are closely related to military applications, but some of them range more widely. This is that what we know. That's the whole purpose of Space Force. Thus, the 1971 list indicates that patents for solar voltaic generators were subject to review and possible restriction if the photovoltaics, there you go, was more than 20% efficient. Energy conversion systems were likewise subject to review and possible restriction if they offered conversion efficiencies in excess of 70 to 80%. Right? So you can't even create a solar panel or a wind generator or anything that was significantly efficient. And that's why these engineers are upset. Not just for free energy, but even for dumb energy, even for the energy we know about. They can't create anything that helps us to not be enslaved into forced labor camps called nations. This is why, like I said, I can't get down with patriots because I don't think y'all know what you're patriots to. One fairly asked if disclosure of such technologies could really have a detrimental to the national security or whether the opposite would be closer to the truth. One further ask what comparable advances in technology may be subject to restriction and non-disclosure today. No answers are forthcoming and the Invention secrecy system persists with no discernible external review, right? And so this is why Congress said no. This is why Congress didn't even want to hear from these inventors, didn't want to hear from the engineers because it's classified information. And this is who you're voting for, by the way. It always ties back to that. This is who you're voting for. You're voting for people who think you're a slave, who are keeping you a slave. I know I still want to read comments. We'll see what it goes from there. Okay, I erased my comment. You answered my question. I did, Brett. Well, you erased the question. You shouldn't have erased it. Or you erased it from somebody else. Don't ever rate that. People don't delete nothing. I don't delete any videos, Brett. I do videos. And it's fun to learn. It's fun to go back and sometimes see how stupid I was a few years ago. It's interesting to see what changes and what doesn't. Be a fair, authentic human and enjoy each other. We all have some entertainment to bring to the table. We do, my Letta Sanders. Everybody has a purpose and everyone's here for a reason. And we have to respect and love everyone for whatever reason that they're here for. Oh, I wanted to answer that. So would releasing this be detrimental to national security? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it should be. It should be. It should be. Why? Because national security isn't about national security anymore. It's about world invasion. And we know that. And it's not just an American thing. It's a Russian thing. It's a Chinese thing. Everyone's got this thing, like Pat said from earlier, right? This is all about bankers and control. This is all about 13 families and powerful people that we don't even know, right? National security, nations don't exist anymore. They exist for the enslavement of plantations. So I don't really care about national security, besides the fact outside of secret technology, who exactly threatens America? Who exactly threatens Britain? Who exactly threatens China or Russia? They all have nuclear weapons. We just saw that in, was it Beirut? Where the bomb blew up, which I have not watched 2 seconds worth of news on other than the video I showed y'all. And apparently, I probably should though, because people died. Somebody said that the entire government resigned because farming equipment or some nitrates blew up in a factory. The entire government resigned. And you believe because it was an accidental explosion. No, it's because you stupid. I know I love you, you ignorant. Does anybody actually believe that the entire government would resign from an accident? No. Don't be stupid. Don't be dumb. Don't. Yeah. This is where I start to tune people out, I'll be honest with you. Is because there are people who are just trying to be right about some bullshizzle, and people are actually dying on this planet. Your entire government resigns. That's called a threat. That's a mafia like, look, this is what we're going to do to you unless you all step down. People don't do this. Oh yeah, the people are rising up. The people are rising up against their corrupt government. And I'm just like, you know how many times they pulled that in Latin America? How many times they pulled that in Africa? Oh yeah, the people want to get rid of them. That's called CIA. Okay? That's called Mossad. It's called a whole bunch of other things, but it is not called no farm nitrate explosion. That's called the name that you not really even supposed to mention here. Okay? You know what they're up to. You know what they've always been up to. When the entire government steps down, nobody should have to tell you what that's about. You should be smart enough to figure that out for your damn self. All right? That was a threat. They blew up the building, and everybody did exactly what it said. Okay, you got that kind of power, huh? Okay. So yeah, you know, we got a bomb the size of a lemon, and we're gonna blow up the 8 blocks with it. Now, you ain't got that. We don't believe it. We don't. Okay. Boom. All right, we're done. We're stepping down. Like, see, and this is why I'm saying that you can't have secrecy anymore. So it's not even about like free energy. It's not about energy propulsion. It's not about weaponry. It's not about what Daniel just posted, the dudes. It's Star Wars Reagan. It's about you now have superpowers on this planet that will send us all back to the Stone Ages if we don't grow the hell up. You can't have a few people with that kind of power. A few people can make an entire government step down. Okay. I don't think that's a good world to continue. That's what I'm saying. I'm not worried about it affecting national security. It's not about America's national security, right? They're poisoning the food, the water, the air, the oxygen, and now they're starving the people. Food lines in Texas 10 miles long, and they're not creating any more growth facilities, right? They're not trying to help America. They're not interested. Whatever makes these decisions, it isn't Democrats and Republicans. It's deeper than that. It's so much deeper and so much darker than that. They literally don't give 2 damns about anybody in this country or your country, wherever you are. It's all about world domination by any means necessary. So yeah, they need to release it all because it's not for you. It's not keeping you safe. It's not for you. Collective consciousness. Yes, Lord, we're all a part of the collective consciousness, and some of us are evolving towards it, some aren't. The ones that are, like, if you look around and you don't see nothing wrong with the planet, like you good to go, you want to keep this model, you want to keep going forward, then yeah, you know, your consciousness ain't working right now, which is okay. We'll all get there eventually, but we have to give time and patience for other people to get there just as well. That's what I'm saying, that when you start trending towards sentience, you don't want to be a part of this anymore. You know, you start thinking about children and what happens to them. You know, you're okay with this collapsing. You have no interest in saving it. You have no interest in securing anything that's not open source and publicly known. And you're fine with it collapsing. I think we live in great times. You just really want to think about being on the right side of history. Hopefully history in the future won't look back and see a pandemic. Hopefully history will look back and they'll see an actual problem that was covered up by a pandemic. And they'll say, well, yeah, initially people thought it was this at first, and they realized much more going on than that, and they fixed it. They found out what it is, and this is what was happening in 2020. And the good thing is the people around the world came together and said, no more of this. Hopefully that's what history will show, but we shall see. We shall see.
Eventually, you can get deeper level of information about the rest of the universe, about your consciousness, about how you are, like the root of you, right? Which is much.
I just want to put that out there. Gnosticism, right? This is why they took those books out of the Bible and still in the Dead Sea Scroll, right? The books that show that God is within you because you are a God. God is within you because you are a goddess. God is in you, so gods and goddesses don't actually exist. You're a part of a whole, and you're just a piece of it. All right? That's what we mean when we say you're a god and a goddess. You don't have to go outside to church, a temple, a book, or anything to find God. It's in you. You don't need men for that.
Deeper than the personality and everything else maybe that you've developed throughout the years. Does that answer your question? Good.
Now you can go back to school and outsmart your teacher. I'd like to see that conversation. Now, this question comes from someone who is watching us on Facebook Live.
I do get hate mail from some of the teachers out there, yes.
Oh, man.
You've ruined my students.
So Rokeshwa Haridas asks us this. Can we equate consciousness to God? Equate thoughts and mind to God?
Well, it depends what you mean by God. You know, that's the thing. The precision of language is so difficult. If you mean by God that it's something that's omnipresent, omniscient, that's everywhere, that knows everything, that organizes everything, then you can associate that directly with the quantum vacuum oscillations. Right. And if that's true, then and that's consciousness, then there absolutely you can make that analogy. But if you make the analogy without the mechanics, without saying either what God is or consciousness is, then you're not much more advanced.
So I take it you don't buy the standard model of physics and you don't buy the standard model of God?
No. Yes, I don't. And the standard model of physics, I wouldn't say I don't buy it. I modified it because it had big holes. At the foundation of physics, there was big holes in the understanding of physics. Like if you asked what is mass, what is electromagnetic fields, what is charge, what is gravity, all this was really like unknown, like the source of it, you know. We wrote physics equation, like one of the most commonly used physics equation, the most known, E equals mc squared. It's a beautiful equation, except that it doesn't tell you anything about anything, meaning if you ask what is m in the equation, mass, we say we don't know what mass is. So that means, and then you ask, well, what is c? Well, we don't know why c is c. We don't know why the speed of light is the speed of light. So that means you have two unknowns on one side, the equal sign. That means you don't know what E is, right? Because it's equal to unknown. So now you have an equation. It's beautiful. There's an equivalence between three unknowns. So you know nothing about nothing. So I wanted to know.
So this is a question from Clement Strook. Clement, are you in the room? Please stand. Okay, Clement is not here, but this is the question Clement asked. Once artificial intelligence becomes self-aware of its own existence and consciousness, how will this impact human consciousness? Well, I guess there's a category to that question, right? Firstly, do you agree that AI can attain consciousness as you define it?
Right. This is really important because it's becoming so popular right now, and I'm asked this question often, and I had to meditate on it, and it was a short meditation because it occurred very quickly to me that there's nothing artificial about consciousness. And so the concept of artificial consciousness or artificial intelligence didn't, it doesn't compute. There's already a computational issue. And so there's nothing artificial about intelligence. And what I mean by that is intelligence has nothing to do with crunching data. It has nothing to do with intelligence. Is a beautiful emergent field of information that includes emotions and all kinds of things that has nothing to do with crunching ones and zeros. Crunching ones and zeros will never get us to an intelligent, being. So do I believe that artificial intelligence will occur, meaning that we can place consciousness in an external device? Yes, I believe we will get there. How we will get there? We will get there when we stop trying to do it by crunching ones and zeros, and we learn how to tap into this fundamental field of information, of consciousness, and loop it back on itself on an external device, and then it will be self-aware. And when it becomes self-aware, it will have emotions, it will have empathy, it will have every characteristic that a human being has.
Now what would that look like?
It will look like you. In walks Elon Musk and tapping into the internet. Now you see why they're hooking probes up to those people and making them play chess. See, this is where the slavery comes back in, right? We're not going to make AI. This is why I've been saying this for a long damn time. This is why I love it when people are a hell of a lot smarter than I am say things that just help me to realize I'm past chasing bones. Like a dog. All we'll make is mentally ill eye. We won't make intelligent eye. It's based in what we do, and we're just crunching ones and zeros. We're writing software that are just making decisions. That's not AI. AI consciousness is made of so much more. So much more. Like you talked about, feelings and emotions. They're all a part of that decision path. What you've been through, what you don't want to go through, what hurts and doesn't hurt. If that's our view, which is probably only this big into what consciousness actually is, we can't make consciousness. All they can do is hook you up to a robot to make that robot conscious, which is what they want to do. In walks in the megalomania's cure. The DNA cure. Why would somebody want to cure you with DNA? Why would megalomaniac billionaires want to cure you? And one that came out of the IT industry that wants to interface, owns the patents to interface micro robots and that little chip, not the RFID, the other one, with human beings. So I could just stop right there and it's like, all right, everybody run for the hills. Woo! This is why they don't want to kill you. They're just too many of you. There are too many of you. In walks the whole depopulation thing. They don't need as many of you. One of you, when they probably get good at this, can run multiple robots. They can't make AI. They'll never make an AI. They can make highly intelligent robots that seem like they're AI, but they're not actually conscious. They're not actually intelligent. They're just performing decision paths through software, if else this, interfacing with databases and previous information and making decisions. That's not AI. That's not AI. You're the I. All right. They got the A. You're going to be the I. Everything is about control and slavery since the beginning of time, from shackles when we first developed the first farming systems up till today. It's like, yeah, we freed slaves. No, you didn't. We're just going deeper and deeper and deeper into slavery. And now you've got millions of people cheering for digital shackles. That consciousness that went from Hitler in Germany came over to America with Operation Paperclip. That consciousness just travels around. That's why I think they are fallen angels. Maybe they are Nephilim or demons or whatever. There's a dark energy here. Like, why would you keep millions of people enslaved on this planet to gravity and their souls? That's hell. That's hell. It just came here. And so you got millions of people who are lining up with this dark energy. Like, hey, yeah, it's a good idea that you cure us. It's a good idea that we give up even more of our freedoms to survive. Like I said, I don't like to call it rights. People like that television debate. Oh yeah, you want to restart the economy for greed, for your rights. I said, no, it's just survival. Freedom to survive. And now, of course, there's solutions, and we'll talk about the solutions if anybody new is bopping around. A lot of good solutions. Oh, Brother Matthew is the 43G. Hey, there you go. Yeah, his name was Duke. Yeah, he was working with an organization called the GI and the Joes, knowing is half the battle. They were prophets. They taught us when we were kids, and we didn't even know it. We thought it was about laser battles and, and nobody gets hit, nobody ever dies. Actually, that was true, huh? That was actually true. But knowing is half the battle. The cup is always half full. It's always half full. All right. Oh my goodness. I got a bunch of good comments today. Let me try to spend some time with this. Be still and know that I am God. Absolutely, Lori. I know you're God. That's why I try to treat you like a God, Lori. I do the best I can. I know I mess up, but I do the best I can. I try to treat everybody like they are a piece of me. Just think about it like that way. Would you protest against your arm? Would you enslave your arm? Would you hate your arm? Would you try to cure racism with racism against your arm or your leg? Or would you say, you know what, we got problems here, right? We got anaerobic environments that's creating poor people, and those poor people being raised in government, and people in government and groups are telling them to hate me. No, we got to stop this. You know, and this is why you deal with hate with love, like we talked about. Well, no, I always forget his name. Out of Chicago. The brother at 21 made me look dumb as a bag of bricks, wet, on a Sunday in the church with a book that's 3,000 years old. It's been modified for 3,000 years. Fred Hampton, right? You don't put out fire with fire, you put out fire with water. All right? You don't cure hate with more hate, you cure hate with love. You don't burn down buildings because you're upset. You go love the people who you need to ally with to get your land back. 16 acres. Everybody needs their 16 acres. We can be free. We just got to act like we don't love slavery. That's all we got to do. And we got to be able to recognize the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right? You need to learn how to fight. The art of war is what we need to spend time doing. The sun will burn forever. No, it will not, Tommy. No, Tommy Murdoch. Well, you know better. I think that's a rhetorical question. Tommy understands that. No, the sun will burn out. The sun will burn out, and it'll supernova. It'll blow up. In fact, it supernovas, then it decreases, and this is science. So just take it with a grain of salt. And finally blows up. Well, we can see that in the distance. Stars blow up. They create black holes or white holes or whatever, and we probably don't want to be here for that. That's number one. But number two, once it creates that super gravity well called a black hole, that's a part of all the ecosystem, right? That's a part of all of this. See, once we uncover gravity, or that we release how to manipulate gravity, then Tommy, we don't have to be here, right? Like, hey, Tommy, hey, Tommy, look, you know what? The sun is about to blow the hell up. Yeah, let's go try out Alpha Centauri. Yeah, let's check that out. Okay, yeah, I hit chicks over there, it's fine. The men over there got six packs, all born with them. Yeah, we head on over there. You know, but as long as we're slaves to gravity, we blow up with it. And that cycle kind of restarts. Things get reclaimed, and that's what I think I think it's all sustainable. You know, it's all chaotic and sustainable, but we're evolving to get to a point where we can manipulate gravity. And once we get to that point, then you have everlasting life. Imagine that. Imagine that, Tommy. Everlasting life. You actually have the ability to be amongst the heavens and have imagine that. Quite beautiful.
Would that be using biological means combined with electronic means? What do you mean by tapping into consciousness?
I think it will be using plasma, high energy plasma structures in a very confined region of space that creates singularity, that creates a tap into the field, and then the system will become self-loop and become self-aware.
Wow. Okay, so now that we've started talking about plasma is one of the states of matter. Scientists are always discovering new states of matter. Right now there are around 7. And plasma is the most dominant state of matter in the universe.
Correct.
Now,
it's mostly of what we see in the universe, and what we call not plasma is really plasma that's cooled off.
I see. Now,
Right.
this is a question from Hayden, who's 10 years old. And Hayden's my son. He's a big science geek. Right, Hayden? You want to just wave to the crowd? So, Hayden's curious to understand, how are you using plasma to control gravity?
He looks like you. I've got 2 boys. How old are you? 10. I have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. What was the question?
I bet that. I was just going to say, you have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. I bet their teachers get so annoyed at them.
Yes.
So,
oh my God.
Hayden was wondering, in your work, you're using plasma
Yes.
to control gravity. And what you've said is, look, Elon Musk wants to get us to Mars using
Rocketry.
Yeah. And you said that that's a highly inefficient process. Within 10 years, we'll be able to use plasma in a specific way to control gravity.
Correct. Yes. That was your son's question?
Well, no. How are you doing it?
Well, you know, okay, so first of all, it's not really feasible to colonize Mars or any other planet or even the moon using rocketry. You know, it makes absolutely no sense. It would be extremely difficult to supply. You know, the supply chain would be very, very expensive. It would produce massive ecological disaster. We would need hundreds of rockets going up every week, every month, and it would make holes in the ionosphere. Anyway, it's not feasible. Control of gravity is the way we will go to space if we reach that, and we will. I'm confident we will, and we will. And you can tell the future because of technology, because all you got to do is look at science fiction. Everything that we have today was in science fiction prior to us having it, because science fiction is the imagination of consciousness creating its future.
We're manifestation engines, right? Everything we achieve, everything we conceive, we've always achieved. That's how we know we will make time travel. There's no question if we'll make anti-gravity devices, and we have all the evidence to show that we already made these devices. Right? Why did they not continue and said, okay, yeah, we're kind of done with the space shuttle. It's not really working out so well. We're just not going to go to space anymore. We've decided, you know, we're going to take a break. You know, we'll use the Russians to get to space. That was a decision path. They already knew that it wasn't really possible to colonize space on fossil fuels. They already knew that. It was a stop and a pause. They already had that technology. We've already proven that. Why would he not say it? Does he know? I don't know if Nassim knows. I mean, we know that we can. Does he know? Well, if he did or not, he couldn't do it. It's against the law. He'd be a terrorist. I had a joke. I'm not gonna go there. So Norma had a point. I disagree. I love disagreements. I disagree. We are not individual gods. We have a creator, the creator of the energy and love and light. We do not create ourselves to be humans. We don't have that kind of power. We are just sparkles of the source of light. Hang on. I can't see the whole thing. Sparkles, the source of light. All right, there you go. So, what do I think on that? I agree with you, Norman. I didn't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that one bit. I'm sorry. You thought we disagree? I don't disagree one bit. I have a different relative perspective when it comes to that statement, right? We are not the individual. We are individual gods, but we are not that particular God. There are creators of simulations at a higher level, but like children, we become creators on our own level. Right? So this is where Christ, because I know Sister Norma's in the church. You know, greater things I have done, you will do. And if Christ is the Son of God, then how can Norma do greater things than Christ did and Christ was a God, unless Norma is going to become a God on her own level? And you can let that go where that will, but I don't disagree with anything you said. I just think everything is relative, like gravity. Everything is very relative. What else do we got here? We are in God, all together we are God. Exactly, and that's Christine, and that is my point. It's not my point. These are ancient points. These are ancient points made into scripture that we only got parts of translations in different religions. I think when you look at all the texts and you use science, and you realize seeking God has nothing to do with science and has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with seeking what is true. And you utilize everything in consciousness, everything in creation to seek what's true. You can't just take one book or one group or one science, right? Like this is the problem. This is why we're here right now. Right? Because we stopped and we said no other medicines are valid except patentable, synthetic, Rockefeller, for-profit drugs. That's the only thing that's profitable. Allopathic medicine. Right? Biological doesn't exist. Physiological, none of that exists. Consciousness, energy, nope. All of that is illegal, banned, and so you had one way of trying to solve a universal problem. With a human body that's a miracle, that's based in the miracle of life in the ecosystem, but you had to use chemistry to fix the problem, right? So I was raised in the church, but I can't just use Christianity to answer everything for the cosmos. To me, that's how I was raised. That's how I was indoctrinated, which is why I know that it means it's completely not true. I won't get there. All of the scriptures have been divided and broken apart and modified, just like the science, to control us. Right? It's like I was saying, Norma, you got here late. I was telling my brother, well, I keep messing up. I was telling my family member earlier, he asked me how many Facebook friends, how do you know who to let be your Facebook friend? I said, it just depends on what you want to use Facebook for. If you want to get to know people all over the world, then you need to make sure you got friends in Africa, Latin America, Canada, America, Britain, all over the place. You need to have friends that got your skin color and not your skin color in your religion, not in your religion. Folks that you say your nations are allies with and folks you say your nations are enemies with. And then you're seeking what's true. Then you're taking in data from everywhere. Then you're actually doing science, right? Not confirmation bias. So I was raised to be confirmation biased, but all the religions do it. It's just, I think, and they're all beautiful. So this is not an anti-Christianity, anti-Muslim, anti-Buddhist, anti-anything. I think they're all beautiful, and they're all access points, right? It's like a mall, right? You can go to a mall, let's say it's consciousness mall. Let's say that, let's make up a word. I like to make up words. You got consciousness mall, spirituality mall, and there are a lot of ways to get there. There are a lot of doors. You can go through the east entrance, the west entrance. You can go through the entrance. I used to work at the mall. I used to go through the back way. The slaves, we had to go, because I worked at Chick-fil-A, you had to go through the back way. It wasn't pretty at all. You walk through there, it stink, got trash in the hallway. Some of y'all work at the mall, you know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all enslaved at the mall. But there are a lot of ways to get in there. It doesn't matter how you come to find your true self, as long as you do. We burn for our lack of knowledge. We burn for our lack of understanding of self. Because when we understand ourselves, we understand that we're a part of everybody else. Which means that we have no conflict with anybody on this planet. Damn it, we may not have no conflict with anybody on Alpha Centauri. Maybe that's why nobody from Alpha Centauri came here. In walks Project Staged Alien Invasion, Blue Beam. The aliens have never invaded. Maybe that's why. Maybe they understand this. They're a little closer to God, the creator of our particular universe. Maybe we got to create our own universe. Maybe with the Big Bang and this ever exploding, increasing universal dimensional creation thing, it seems so fantastical we call the creator God, which is okay. Relatively, it probably makes some sense. If you are exponentially increasing universes and planets and dimensions, and we can only see 15 billion years, you probably got to start evolving creatures on planets to find that sentience where maybe they got to go be the God in their own universe. Maybe that's what Christ meant. Greater things I've done, you will do. Maybe that's all of the species and things and creatures that were in the Mahabharata time, all the miraculous things in the Bible and the Gita. Maybe all of that was real. Maybe that was all just visitation, from other gods or things that were God-ish, I don't know. Aliens, whatever you want to call them. Maybe they're multi-dimensional. Maybe they were us in the future going back to fix problems. I have no idea. Good morning, Gene. Gnostic indeed. Yes, Christine, and I think that's the beautiful thing is I think you really start to get somewhere when you really start to see all of the solutions in your own mirror, when you start to seek internally, when you start to solve the world's problems within yourself. You know, to me, I think it's a maturing process. Christine, I think that when you start to become spiritually mature, and I don't think anybody ever becomes spiritually mature, I think it's a process, and you start heading down that direction, you tap into Gnosticism. You're no longer in conflict with anything. That to me is maturing spiritually. I think is when you stop having less conflict with those outside of you, and you start having more conflict with what's within you. That's what I think. And I could be totally wrong, and I'm okay with that. This is freeing knowledge, wonderful. It is, Christine. I think it is. I think this is amazing. I think we are so honored to live today. I think we're so honored. We have the ability to change direction of this planet, where we have the ability to hide in our houses and listen to those who have never had our best interest in mind. We can change everything for the next generation if we love them a little more than we love ourselves. I think that this is the time that we have been waiting for, and I think we are the silly monkeys that just came out the trees chasing bananas and sniffing each other's butt cheeks for food. I think we are the ones we've been waiting on. I'm sure we're the ones that all our ancestors are waiting on. We're all the ones that the future generations are waiting on. The question is, what are we going to do with it? We're going to keep fighting each other over mask holes and maskless holes. I like the word mask holes. I do. But it's not just one side is mask holes. Everybody's a mask hole. All the sides, let me put it that way. All the sides are the mask holes. Because this is what I think. I think that the same powers, historically is true. The same powers behind the people who think nothing is happening are the same powers behind the people who think everything is happening. The same powers behind the people who are convinced nobody's dying are the same powers behind the people who are convinced everything is dying. Why? Because it keeps them in conflict. As long as it keeps them in conflict, then the people who control Earth, they maintain control. The people who control these societies that enslave us all. That's why, like I said, my position changes. And you know, early on, I was like, you know what? I don't see anything. I still don't see anything. But I'm not stupid, right? I live in a country where they made bioweapons. Of course there's something out there. I'm not dumb. I know people in hospitals that were overrun. And I know people in hospitals with crickets. All they could hear is crickets. So I know something's going on. But I do my best to not join any extreme sides in anything, because usually the extreme position is the dumb position. And they're all controlled by the same powerful people. Love and light. Good morning, moon. We are stardust. We are golden. We are billion-year-old carbon. Yes, we are, Carolyn. We're beautiful. We're made of what the solar systems are made from. Right? When you look at the elements of the solar system, that's what we're made from. We are the solar system. That's where I did this post right here. Historical plot twist, but I had to say no plot twist. The same powers behind those saying nobody's dying is the same powers behind the ones saying everybody's dying. Why? Because it keeps everybody in conflict, which means you will be completely ineffective at doing anything to free your children, the next generation, from the people who usually run these schemes, and they have plans upon plans, levels upon levels, schemes upon schemes. We'll speak the language and use the culture of the first empire with a mass media. Yes, we will. Or we'll be reinventing the wheel, reinventing language, and reinventing culture. Why? Because the first empire that creates a mass media will rule the world. It will take everything and everybody, because it is the most powerful way to control a god, right? Through these mirror neurons. We evolved the mirror neurons, and they can use the mirror neurons with television to ensure that we live the reality that they want us to live by putting it on television, by literally taking Hollywood and making it all television. And now everything on television is advertised. It doesn't matter if you're watching the news or the stories. It's all stories. It's all a made-up reality, and your body is literally living that reality. You know, so are people dying? Yeah, but the question is, what is killing them? That is always an interesting question. And I know it's a question that they won't answer, just like they won't answer how come they won't release free energy while they complain about the climate's being destroyed, the ecosystems being destroyed. It's because they actually don't care. But they don't have the power to do anything about it. How that congressman told me, he says, we couldn't change anything if we wanted to. He says, just live your life. Live your life. And he's a defeatist. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm a spiritual creature. You actually can't kill me. As long as I'm here, I'm supposed to do what's right. We're trapped here in these different yugas, repeating the cycle, reincarnating, staying in hell, because we can't actually ever stand up and say enough.
And
Just
so,
to give an example of that, if you were watching Star Trek: The Next Generation in the 1990s, and you notice the people in Star Trek using a tricorder,
right.
We now have a tricorder. In fact, this is more advanced than the tricorders in Star Trek,
right.
and it's called a smartphone,
Yes.
right? And so, and who would have thought that it would emerge in 18 years from 1990?
Exactly, and things are accelerating. And what I'm talking about, gravity control, is not in 5 generations from now, like it's not in 10 generations from now, it's at our doorstep. You know, there's laboratories all around the world, including mine, working on it.
And NASA.
And NASA.
And you say this is going to come to the world within 10 years.
Oh, yes. We already have good results in some of the laboratories with some of the device in creating gravitational anomaly and so on. And so we're on our way. And you know, all of our current technology today came from us learning to control magnetic fields and electromagnetic fields from Maxwell's equation and Faraday. And we've produced this amazing civilization, technological civilization. The next step is to learn to control gravity and birth our civilization into a space colony.
And you're doing this with plasma. Can you give a quick layman's idea of how you're doing this?
Right, so not all laboratories have taken that approach. I've taken it because early on in the physics I wrote, I realized that we needed to spin highly dense magnetic field at high velocity. And some of the experiments in microgravity alterations came from spinning a superconductive magnetic disk at 5,000 RPM, but 5,000 RPM is very slow. You can turn plasma right up to the speed, close to the speed of light. So you can imagine if you reproduce the same experiments, but at a much higher velocity, you can get much larger effects. So it was clear to me that rotating a physical object was too slow. So I realized, oh, why don't we just biomimic what the universe is doing, right? Because it's spinning plasma out there and it's producing gravitational field. Let's make a little star in a jar, you know. So I eventually manufactured and patented a device that basically confines plasma inside a crystal ball. I get in trouble.
And it's spinning this plasma, creating a gravity field.
Exactly. Produce gravitational alteration.
So you believe that within 10 years, we might be able to control gravity to some degree?
Absolutely, yeah.
What will this look like in terms of what we as humanity would then be capable of?
Well, it looks like being able to come off the surface, literally. Controlling gravity will allow us to put all of our vehicles in the air.
So flying cars becomes a reality.
Exactly, the Jetsons, you know,
right.
That will occur, and that'll allow us to remove most of the pavement and roads and all this off the surface, give the earth back to the earth. Obviously, that leads to, I mean, initially, it will probably just start with common vehicles, like planes no longer using carburation, but using gravitational drive and so on. But eventually, individuals will have the same capability, and it will allow you to, you know, fly outside the atmosphere into space, go to the moon for the weekend, come back for, you know, lunch with a friend, and go back for supper. You know, it will allow us to move around about the solar system at a much faster rate. And if you look at the evolution of consciousness on our planet, it's directly linked to our capacity to move about. More, you know, from the cavemen that couldn't go very far, to eventually us that are able to get on this metal object, which is completely crazy. For even 100 years ago, 150 years ago, if you said to someone, I'm going to get on this metal object and I'm going to go across the world to Australia, they would say you got burnt at the stake for saying something like that.
Right.
But
because you were a witch, which is what happens now. What happens to an engineer that develops free energy? You proverbially get burned at the stake. Somebody shows up at your door, and like the FBI, Bob Lazar, Element 115, who explained plasma and gravity in the fields that he saw in a military base that nobody knew existed, and he explained everything to you and us down to the elemental level, which was all vindicated and proven to be true, all the way down to the palm scanner to get in the facility. At the time, nobody even knew the palm scanners existed. I say that way because this is a very real discussion. It's the only discussion. You know, some people that look at this and like, that's pie in the sky. That's not applicable today. It is the problem with today. We're not actually discussing reality. We're discussing multiple levels of a false reality. This is reality. It's the reality that's kept from our eyes. So Element 115, Christine asked, that's the Bob Lazar. That was the element Bob Lazar told us back in the 80s, 30 years ago, that existed, and they utilized it in a way that made ships float. Ships that he said couldn't possibly be from this earth. And this is where, you know, again, the UFO and the alien people will be happy. So if everything Bob Lazar said that we could vindicate, we vindicated. We've proven to be true. He knew things nobody could possibly know. We have to validate his entire story. And his story was, well, where did the UFOs come from? He said they either had 9 or 12. And he said it looks like some of them were old, and said they got some of them from ancient sites, and others look relatively new. And so today we need to operate in that present reality, that you have a government that keeps things from you, and ancient technology that's been on this planet for a very long time. Doesn't necessarily mean it's aliens, but damn it, it means that somebody's been here before. Somebody's technologically advanced. You could be Atlantis, could be the Sanskrit text, could be the ancient Greeks, Lemuria, all the stories we have of flying craft, that people have been flying craft on this planet from the beginning of time, and fossil fuels didn't exist. And so this is the part where he starts to explain to you that if you're worried about climate change, your whole life right now needs to be about free energy. Not Greta Van, what is her name? No, I'm thinking Greta Van Susteren. I only know 2 Gretas in my life. The little girl, the young girl. Well, she's not little, I guess she's 16. Your whole discussion is Bob Lazar. Your whole discussion is reality. Your whole discussion is the Invention Security Act of 1951. That's your whole discussion. Your discussion is not with a right. Your discussion is not listening to the politicians that are keeping you enslaved to fossil fuels and gravity. Your whole discussion is, why are we destroying and burning up every ecosystem on this planet for you lying to me and making me look stupid in front of this guy named Gerard on the internet because you told me to post these things which were completely untrue. And that brother ain't here to play. No, he does not post nothing unless he done did the research. I'm not a poster that doesn't do the research. If you want to comment with us, you need to bring your A game. Don't bring your B game. Don't bring your C game. Don't bring your D. That was so 10 years ago. We don't do that no more. Yeah, we used to lie on the internet a long time. Yeah, it used to be a lot of fun. It ain't fun no more. The planet burning up. You got poor people starving. They about to get out there and start eating people with basil. No, now it's time to get real. We don't post anything we haven't done the research. You need to do your own research. All right, anyway. Brother Will Love Earth had a question. He said, let me see. How do we know we are stardust? Science! Sounds like religious belief based on another's word. Hang on, another's word. Oh, another's word. He's absolutely right. We don't know. Which is why we can't stand on anything so solid to be ignorant, right? They say that we're made of stardust. They say that they can geotype. Was it geotyping? No, phenotyping. Phenotyping a thing and calling it a thing, and that is what the thing is. And everything in the universe is chaotic. Everything, nothing is the same. We call it a tomato, Brother Will, and you know that it's not a tomato. Like this is tomato. Hang on, where are my damn bananas? This is why I'm dealing with these fruit gnats and my bananas. See, you got these two bananas. I'm gonna take them apart. Are they the same thing? You look at it like, yeah, they the same thing. They're yellow, got the same shape, and you can pull them apart so they grew on the same plant. They're the same damn thing. They're actually not. Okay? They have different DNA. They are different. They're the yellow, they're part of the yellow race. No, they're not. They're different. Every plant on the planet is different. Everything has different DNA. Do you know that your left arm has different DNA from your right arm? You know that your genes are expressing and changing themselves all the time, but we like to pretend and say that you can DNA profile somebody, but epigenetics disagrees with you. Epigenetics literally changes your DNA by the moment. Your DNA has changed since you started watching this, in your right foot and your left foot. Science, right? That's the beautiful thing about science. Will, you know, and this is the point, to Will's point, you know, which is, you know, science sends us in a direction, like religion. It sends us in a direction. But only you can open that door and go into the conscious mind, because the more you learn, the more you realize how little we actually know. You know, I don't ever learn enough that I can be in conflict with anybody. I don't ever know enough that I can force you to wear a mask or not wear a mask. I never know enough about microbiology and fungi or what Sister Riley said yesterday. Did y'all see Sister Sister Riley? She crazy as hell. I love that sister, girl. Oh goodness, we need some cannabis for Sister Riley. She was in New York and she had a microphone. Did y'all see her on the megaphone? she's like out the window, and she said, "Stop wearing your mask. Your government doesn't care about your health. It will give you meth mouth." I don't even know what meth mouth is. I had no damn, but I don't disagree with her. She crazy as hell. I don't disagree with her one bit. I appreciate her passion and her love to educate her neighborhood on a megaphone out the window in the high tower in New York. And you know what? Meth mouth might be a thing. And I was thinking from, you know, the epidemic that the people who want to cure you and save you gave everybody. They gave everybody this addiction to meth. And this is right now only 25 years after they gave everybody else an addiction to crack cocaine. Yes, these people, oh, they love you. They love you. Oh, oh, goodness gracious. They go to sleep at night like, how can I love my citizens more? So yeah, I don't know what meth mouth is. I don't know about the lung fungus and the face fungus. I don't know none of that. I know this, that everybody's different DNA, that you can't have one solution for everybody. And I damn sure know there ain't nobody out there in Washington trying to save you, because they've been poisoning you since birth. If they were trying to save you, FBI would be taking on the pharmaceutical industry. The NSA would be out there pulling down the research of everything that's been published and sending email on a laptop that actually killed an American, right? Treason, these treasonous corporations that are international multi-conglomerates that come here and kill our citizens through products. That's what the NSA would be doing. They ain't on my side. Good people in there. I know a whole lot of people in these organizations, and they're good people. However, they don't get to dictate what happens. We do. We do. And we keep voting and being patriots for people who are internationally known working with massive corporations, because that's the job. That's the job. It's not about being mad at politicians. It's about understanding the system. The system is designed to abuse you. And like an abusive spouse, you don't know how to lead. You have no idea how to lead. You don't know what else to do. They've been beating you since birth, right? They've been beating you wearing a white t-shirt, white wife beater, beating the hell out of you since birth. And you just don't know when it's time to leave. And I'm the friend that's trying to tell you with a bunch of these people here that, you know, abuse ain't great. Abuse ain't great. You ain't gonna make America great again with abuse. And you ain't gonna make America great again with universal health care. That's disease care. You ain't gonna make America great again with universal basic income, and income shouldn't exist. Money shouldn't even exist. They don't even let you own land, man. You can't even own your own land. You know, boogers got their own land. The microbiology and boogers got their own land. They got their own ecosystem. They're free. You ain't even free. He like, nah, I don't want to be free. I got to fight the other people who ain't got nothing to do with me being free. That's why we're here. That's why we keep going through these Kali Yugas. It's a cycle. We keep getting reincarnated. Gravity keeps trapping us. We keep coming back and we're trapped in hell because we're not evolving spirituality and consciousness. We're not evolving the ability to give you, and this is the deep spiritual thing about anti-gravity. We're on a gravity well and spiritually we're trapped. Leaving physically is leaving spiritually. All right, I'm gonna do some lessons. Scrub a dub. That was the name of this video. Scrub a dub. All we need is some soap. That's all we need, because it's the bubbles that does the cleaning. It's the bubbles that get the back, because you wash your hands. There's nothing magical about soap. There's nothing magical. There's no magic in there. You know, you had the antibacterial, that's a carcinogen. You don't want that. It's the bubbles. Organic and natural. See what the bubbles do is when you wash your hands or you brush your teeth, get all the bubbles in your feet. Everybody knows this, right? Ain't nothing, there's no magic in there. Your body is the magic, okay? All the bubbles do is trap little pieces of bacteria and take them all off your hands, right? The good ones and the bad ones. And because you are a magical creature and you're colonized with all the good stuff, your body creates more good probiotics. Colonizes your skin back. And that's why you don't get sick and die. It colonizes your mouth back when you brush your teeth. It's just the bubbles. And we need to do that on Earth. We need to scrub. We don't need to scrub the Earth. We just need to make some bubbles and get all the dark energy off of it. Off of it. And the good thing about that analogy for me is it's just truth. Human beings left alone, left to their own devices, are all beautiful creatures. Every last one of them. They have to be starved. The ecosystem has to be broken to make profit. You have to make them really, really angry. You have to write an awful lot of laws that are artificially scarcity based to take away the abundance, to make them want to be aggressive enough to get out there and rob their neighbor, or do something dark, or abuse somebody else. I see God in babies. Yeah, you do, Lori. You know, I was thinking about that the other day. And that's the other evil thing about these face diapers is teachers are going back to school. You can't even see the kids' faces. I hate seeing kids now. I do. I love kids to death. But what's fun about seeing kids is they laugh. There's something, human beings are magical. You don't need a megalomaniac psychopath to create a cure to fix you. Ain't nothing wrong with you but your mental illness in your head. You're just not informed. That's all. Kids are beautiful. They're super magicians. Something about the way they laugh. Something about the laugh and the dumb things they say. It's not funny when you hear dumb things from your friends is in the 50s. But when you hear dumb things from a 5-year-old, you're just like, damn, that's enlightenment. When they laugh and they play, like I'm listening to my teacher friends and they're like, you know, what I hate about going back to school is I can't see facial expressions in the kids, right? Because it makes you happy, just being around kids having fun. But what about the kids? Like, what happens to a child that gets a negative emotion, not a negative, a neutral emotion from every adult around them in public? What are the long-term I got a lot of psych friends here. Y'all done studied psychology and then put them people on them sofas and talk about all that craziness in their life. What happens to a child who can no longer, goes a whole year of its life and gets neutral responses from every adult that's not in its house? What does that do psychologically to children? I was listening to somebody, psychiatrist, I think, who said it. It's just we don't know the long-term effects of doing this to children. I think we got a lot to think about, people. A whole lot to think about. All right. He is God to them. Yes, he is. He is God. And there's always a God to somebody else, right? When we go to the Amazonian jungles, Lori, they think we're God. When the missionaries show up, they become a cargo cult. And I'm convinced that's all we are. We're cargo cults on multiple levels. And there's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean God is any less omnipotent. God can be anything you want it to be. Just let it be something that tells you to love your neighbors. Let it be something that tells you to not covet your neighbors. Let it be tell you something that tells you thou shalt not murder, and don't get out there murdering. Nor support a government that's dropping bombs on baby, because that's called murder. Okay? Thou shalt not steal, right? You don't have to steal anything. If somebody comes to you and they need the shirt off your back, give them the shirt off your back. God can be anything you want. You can manifest God in anything you like. God can be your political party. God can be your single focused science. God can be your allopathic medicine. God can be your nation. In reality, those are all religions. They're all belief systems. They're all based in faith. They're all faith-based. God can be anything you want, but until a God is something consciousness that actually changes your life, changes your behavior, makes you really think about internally what the hell is wrong with you, instead of worrying about what the hell is wrong with somebody else. Until you get a God that's that, you on the wrong God. You got some demons around you. Because God can be as crisp and clean and blue, beautiful and pristine as it wants to be. But as long as you view it from your perspective, and it's okay to go bomb people and murder people and steal from people and let your neighbors starve, as long as God is after you, then God is a demon. God is a demon and we're in hell. All right, I'm gonna do commentary. I gotta run. Friday, it's Freedom Friday. Ain't nobody free, but that's okay. We gonna be free. We gonna get there. I would rather get there in this generation. I'd rather do it for the children than let them wait another 400 years after they hook us up to that damn machine, make a cyborg so they can control us and make AI out of us, because we're the I in the A. We're gonna build the A form and then we become the I, and then we're just like mindless Black Mirror robot driving creature things instead of spiritual gods and creatures out there flying around in the solar system finding interesting things with Captain Kirk and the rest of them. All right. Why do we need half of this nonsense? Nick Stinson asks. What nonsense, Nick? I'm way up in comments. Let me move down. We like nonsense. We are nonsense loving people. We all, as long as that nonsense make me feel good about myself, Nick Stinson, and tells me that my problem is other people, people in confirmation bias, I will watch your news all day long. I'll join your political party because you're building me up by breaking everybody else down. You've literally made success and make me feel good about myself by teaching me that I am my boo-boo don't stink, that I'm so good and everybody else is so bad. It's like Saj Guru says in that way, that a society based in you taking pride in yourself because you got stuff other people don't, that's success. That's not success. That's a mental illness. So why was all the nonsense around? Because they tie the nonsense, and this is my opinion, Nick, they tie the nonsense to our pride. They tie the nonsense to our ego. That's the only reason that nonsense is out there. That's the only reason why there's any nonsense that anybody's out there shaming anybody for wearing or not wearing a mask. Adults. I have no issue as an adult. You can do any damn thing you want to. You can jump off the cliff. You can do this, that, and the other, because I'm convinced you ain't gonna die anyway. You just come back and you got to relearn the lesson that you refused to learn the first time around. But the children, that's another thing. That children, that's why I lean to professionals. There's too much we don't know as commoners. Right? I'm an IT guy. I'm not great on psychology. I'm good enough to know that we ain't been doing this for the last couple thousand years. We probably shouldn't be doing it to children today. And then you lean to the behavioral scientists and psychologists tell you. Everyone that I know right now are warning us that we need to cut this mess out with these children. Plus, children aren't affected by whatever they got released anyway. They're not affected by it. Not as badly as the adults are. Anyway. I have spiritual beliefs, not religious ones. I'm with you, Lori. I have more spiritual beliefs than religious ones, but I don't shun religion because a lot of the texts are solid there that we need to pay attention to. A lot of truths everywhere in creation, everywhere in consciousness. They just opened a new skate park here. Some of the towns here in Oklahoma do not have a mandatory mask. And that's a beautiful thing, Belinda. That's called standing up to authority. That's a great thing. Nobody has authority over you. You are a free human being. If you agree with what they're saying, then go along with what they're saying. But if you don't agree with what they're saying, you go along with it. Unfortunately, last time we did that, a whole lot of people got walked into ovens. And me personally, Belinda, not on my watch. Not on my watch. I ain't doing it. Last time we went along with that, you put a whole bunch of people on boats and took them into slavery. Not on my watch. No, I'm an anti-Caesar person, Belinda. Anybody who says they got authority over me, yeah, you gonna spend a whole lot of time waiting to see me, because I'm not authoritatively friendly. No, not that I can't die. You can't kill me. All you can do is send me back, bring me back in another vessel to come after you. I will defy force anywhere it appears. Anyone who feels that they need a police state, police people with guns and arresting kids. Did y'all see that kid? Did y'all see the picture of the kid where he was so little in some school they arrested him that they didn't have handcuffs that fit him? I'm not gonna say anything more on that, because if I do, I'm gonna get upset. People tell me I'm happy. They tell me I'm happy, and it's just like, you have no idea. You have no idea. Yeah, no, I know when to turn the camera off. That's what I know. I know that. And I know that if I look at that picture of that little baby, somebody's little baby, my little cousin, that little child of God over there in some handcuffs, and conservatives are cheering for this now. They're cheering for the police state. They're cheering for the abuse of God's children. No, that's gonna piss me off. I know me. I gotta stop talking about it. I said, Gerard, that's you gonna talk about it. Yeah, I know. I'm pulling up. Let me pull up. Now I'm pull up. All right, yes, if I want to drive 45 minutes to a park out of the country to get a free park without restrictions, it's a damn shame, Marie. You shouldn't have to. Marie, you are a god. You need to be able to do what Marie Ann needs to do on Marie Ann's land. It ain't Gerard's damn business what you do on your land, as long as you ain't hurting nobody. It ain't nobody else's business either. That's the word we got to get to. Mind your own beeswax. Everybody have their own land. You do what you do. I do what I do. And everybody's good. Like what we were talking, racism came up on somebody's, who was it, a Sean Yankees show? And we were talking about fake people. Fake people, we're talking about fake people. Oh, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine with everything other than fake people. Right? It's like the whole thing goes to racism. Right? I gotta say this now because I gotta go. I can't hide in the bush. I'm fine with racist people. I have no issue with racist people. I could care less whether you like me. I'm a grown man. I don't give two damns what you think about blue skin, green skin, white skin, black skin, or whatever skin. I care nothing about that. What I care about is you're honest. If you're not fake. I can get down with racist people all day. You can sit on your own land and do whatever you want to do. I don't really care. It's on my land. Right? But fake people, you can't do nothing. Right? There's a cure for racism. It's called love. Right? It's just ignorance. It's just not knowing people who look like that. That's curable. Fake people, you can't cure at all. You'll never cure a fake person. Somebody who has no sense of self, somebody who makes authority and does whatever it wants. You can't cure that. Well, you can give them information. But they got to cure themselves. But curing a racist person, it's just a matter of just giving them some love and showing them that their information is incorrect about you. Anyway, I get it on. This is Gerard. Y'all have a great weekend. I love y'all to death now. Scrub-a-dub-dub. Scrub-a-dub-dub. It's time to get them soap suds up, clean off this damn planet. We got too many filthy, corrupt, dirty, foul, funky people on this planet, and they got millions and millions and millions of people behind them supporting them. That need to come on down to an end. Anyway, Gerard, love y'all to death. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
People and Mother Nature too. Close down all the zoos. Do you wanna boom, 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 boom? Do you wanna boom, 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 boom? Do you wanna free, 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 boom, boom? Free the people. Do you wanna free?